Welcome to another episode of Beyond Giving, the best nonprofit podcast on the Boost Network, sponsored by Nonprofits HQ. Today we've got an exciting conversation with San Antonio's largest member-supported nonprofit makerspace, 10Bitworks. Awesome. Thank you so much, Greg and Connor, for joining us on Beyond Giving. It's really great to have you on the show, and I'm really excited to learn a little bit more about 10Bit and kind of your backgrounds. Let's start with some introductions. Tell us who you are and how you ended up at the makerspace.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Connor. I wound up at the makerspace because I was working on a shuttle bus conversion and buying a lot of tools. And a lot of those tools were expensive, and I only needed once for one project. And I was like, man, why can't we just share tools, like a library or something? And then I remembered the concept of a makerspace, which was not something that I had anywhere near me when I lived in rural Jersey. So
what is a makerspace?
A makerspace is a place. It's kind of like a library of tools and machines and equipment, except that some of them you check out, but we don't really have that. You go there and you work on your stuff there, which is great. The 10Bitworks is downtown where a lot of people have apartments and don't have a room or garages or anything like that. And so you have a little bit of everything. You got wood shop, metal shop, 3D printing. We have other things like ceramics and laser cutting, and there's a lot of stuff that you probably wouldn't have access to. You probably couldn't afford on your own and probably don't need to use every day. So it just really makes sense to share. It's kind of like it's kind of like a gym membership or something like that. You could have a much bigger gym than you would have at home, but
I call it a community workshop. It's basically a community workshop with all the tools and equipment you might need to build practically anything.
So you just buy a membership and then you have access to the tools and the different things to work on your projects?
Yeah, and on top of that, there's, with our membership, we have a lot of mentors, so if you don't know how to do something, like when I first came to the makerspace, I had an idea in my mind and I knew that it could be done with the CNC machine, but I didn't know how to operate that equipment or really what was involved. And so when I got there, Don was there and he was like, well, you got to do this and you got to do that and you got to learn this software and that. And I was like, okay, well, and he was like, well, I'll teach you. And so he sat down and he taught me how to do exactly what I needed to do. And I didn't really learn much the first time, but it kind of gave me the bug. And I had, other things that I wanted to do, and one thing led to another, and I was like, wow, this is great. And I build all kinds of stuff in the space now.
And that's such a super important component too, right? Because you can have access to all these tools and all these machines that you can hurt yourself or hurt somebody or burn down the building or whatever, right? But learning, having the support from experienced people to understand how to use them correctly and safely to complete your projects is amazing. So what about your background a little bit, Greg? How did you wind up on the board at 10Bitworks?
Well, my background is in marketing. I was a marketing consultant for years, and prior to that, kind of just have been in a lot of different forms of marketing over the years. And so I wound up on the board just because I wanted to give back to the makerspace. I wanted to be part of making sure that the makerspace lasted and was there for a long time, because I love it. I love the community. I love being able to enjoy what we have available to everyone, and I wanted to help to make sure that we were around for a long time. So that's how
So then you leverage your marketing skills probably through your board service?
Yes, absolutely. And that's kind of like we just had a big fundraising event that was our 15-year anniversary.
15 years, wow! Congratulations.
And that went off really well. And I utilized my not just marketing skills, but just skills as a business owner in the past, and as someone who's been involved in community outreach in the past. I use those skills to help us find donors for some of the items that we had at our auction, and to get cash donations, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Okay. And so how did you come across 10Bitworks just in general? Like, you're this marketing guy, right? Google. So you found him online, you're working on a project?
Yeah, I was actually building it was something really simple. It was just a faceplate for an amplifier. I'm kind of into hi-fi, and I DIY speakers and amplifiers, and I was wanted to make a wooden faceplate that had, some curves to it and had a name engraved and stuff like that. So first I started reaching out. I was like, oh, I can just, maybe have somebody do this for me on the CNC machine. And it was like really expensive to have a one-off like that done, and I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to do that. And then I thought, well, I wonder if there's, some kind of, I remembered learning about a makerspace some years prior. It just popped into my head. I was like, oh, this library that I used to be a member at had a makerspace, and they had like a little CNC machine up there. I wonder if there's a makerspace near me. And
nice. That was pretty much the same.
I did a search, and there was, there's actually 3 in San Antonio. One of them, they were only open on Fridays or something. And I don't know, the other one didn't have a CNC machine or something like that, or I could try to call and they didn't answer.
So when do you have access to 10-bit? Like, when can members come in and work on their projects?
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
24 hours. Wow.
As long as you're familiar with the tools that you need to use, you can come in and use them anytime. We provide our members with an access card, and they can just come and go as they please, which is one of the nice things about Makerspace, because you don't, even if you work a 9 to 5 and you're busy on the weekends, maybe you want to just come at night or early in the morning before your job. Lots of people do that. And it's
Come
funny,
when it's cooler.
there's members that I've been around for almost 3 years now, and there's members that I've just met for the first time because they only come at night, and I'm hardly ever there at night,
Definitely. And that's such an interesting benefit too. So, full disclosure, I am a member of 10-bit, and that's how I kind of met you guys. But like, when the first time I went through or toured the space, I was like, wow, this is amazing. But the problem is I work all day, right? And then so when do I actually get to work on these projects? And then as we toured the space and learned more about the different tools, can go in at 1 o'clock in the morning when I wrapped up whatever work I procrastinated on in the day, to get it done, which is exciting. But on the track of kind of interesting projects, Connor, you mentioned that you're rebuilding, you're doing a van rebuild or something, and that project is kind of how you found 10-bit. So tell us a little bit about that and like the scale of that project and what 10-bit Makerspace has kind of enabled you to do with that.
Oh yeah, cool. I got interested in like van life many years ago and was watching a lot of videos and stuff like that. I certainly can't afford like an RV or something like that, but van was a little too small. I wanted something that would be big enough to stand up in and have bathroom and shower and stuff like that. And then I discovered people converting shuttle buses, and I was like, that's perfect. And a shuttle bus can still fit in a normal parking spot. So I brought it here today. And the process has been pretty crazy because I like to customize everything. So I stripped it down, took all the walls and ceiling and floor and everything out, and then put in closed cell spray foam insulation. And then I'm CNCing my floor right now. I have a lot of ideas of soundproofing. I'm trying to make the interior sort of like studio quality soundproof, both for recording, but also for sleeping. And so yeah, I guess the biggest story with that, when I realized like this was a good idea, is when first of all, at the time that I joined, we still had an automotive section. We had to downsize, so we don't have that anymore, but I could pull in there and do some welding. But also, we were talking about the community. Like, I feel like people come for the equipment but stay for the community. I learned metalworking just from other members. And so I had this project of trying to cover the roof with solar panels, and there's no mount points on the roof. The roof is curved. There's a whole lot of reasons why this was hard or inadvisable. But I learned how to order metal cheaply from suppliers. I learned how to cut it up, even some welding, and then I made a roof rack for my shuttle bus and filled it with solar panels. So I'm pretty proud of that, and it's like aluminum, so it's light. The whole thing costs way less than if I were to buy something. Even if I were to buy something that was templated for an actual van, which I can't do because this is a specific roof shape and has no mount points and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really proud of that, and I'm still interested in getting better with welding. That's one of the skills I just did not have before joining 10-Bit, because I have some experience in wood shop and engineering, and 3D printing is really my jam. I've been doing that since it started to get big over a decade ago. But I really liked the idea of having everything metal so that it's strong, and like aluminum so that it's waterproof. And then CNC, oh my gosh, can totally make custom parts.
So you both have mentioned the CNC machine. What is that for our listeners? What is a CNC machine, and what can you do with it?
It's my favorite tool.
Yeah, Greg's gonna give some classes on CNC. So yeah, I'll let him answer that.
The CNC machine this particular CNC machine is a CNC router, which is it's kind of like a drill. Has a bit at the end, and it carves into material. So you can cut and or carve different materials, primarily wood, and some lighter metals for the one that we have. But the cool thing about it is that it makes building complicated or even simple wood pieces or metal pieces just 1,000 times easier than like traditional methods where you would have to like really tightly measure everything and figure, make sure that your cuts were exactly straight and stuff like that. The machine does all that for you. You design it in the software, it's gonna come out exactly like your design.
Right. The part you missed it's like a drill, but it's a drill on a
huge.
On 2 axes. It's like a 3D printer.
3 axes.
Except it's the
up and down, left and right. So
you can very easily get some pretty precise cuts to then assemble your project or whatever it is after.
Right.
Okay.
It's an awesome robot arm with a drill.
Yeah.
And so we've already established the CNC machine is your favorite, right? And so my next question for you folks is going to be, all the things in the makerspace. You got 3D printing, you've got the CNC, you've got laser burning, you've got table saws, all this welding, glass blowing, all this stuff that happens at 10-Bit. What is your favorite area to work in, and what is the favorite tool that you have in the space?
Yeah, for me, it's the CNC machine for sure. And I still it's my favorite now just because probably because I use it the most. But I'm definitely interested in using some of the other stuff more. I really want to learn to weld and use the 3D printers a little more. I mean, I can fiddle my way around them, but I'm not very fluent with those machines yet. But
sure, on that, I don't think I've ever thought of what's my favorite tools in the shop. If we had done even better at the anniversary, we were going to buy a laser welder, which would definitely have been my favorite. And especially because the one we picked out can also be put on a CNC, so you can use it to cut stuff precisely, which would be game changing. So still open for that. But what I've used the most probably is the vertical bandsaw in metal shop. So it's kind of like a bandsaw that a blade that stays vertical and is moving, except this one is on a gantry. It falls onto your material and then basically chops it with gravity.
Oh, really?
So when I cut up the metal for my roof rack, I had these like 20 feet pieces of aluminum, like crazy long, figured out the exact length, and then I put them in this machine, and it's super slow and casual, and it just like slowly carves through it.
Interesting.
With its own weight until it's done. And then what I thought was really cool, because I actually ended up fixing up and repairing them. We got a second one. Like, this was a big part of the project. Is that when it hits the bottom and it's gone all the way through the piece, it actually has a little tab that pushes its own off switch, so you can tell from distance, oh, it's done. So probably not a popular pick, but that's something I've used a lot, and I haven't gotten to use the CNC or the laser that much yet, but eventually I'll definitely get there, because I'm good with computer design of stuff. And yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I like too is that when I first started going there, one of the things I was told was, you might want to just bring your own hand tools and stuff like that. But now we've gotten the space so well organized, and we have tons and tons of tools, so I never even have to bring my tools anymore. There's pretty much anything you need: tape measures and hammers, and you need a certain kind of fastener. It's like, I swear we have 1,000 different kinds of fasteners or screws and nuts and bolts.
That's a element, 3D printing, all different
yeah,
colors and
calipers, and I don't know, all the different kinds of air tools, and
So all the stuff you can need to complete a project.
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
If you dig around enough, you're gonna find a tool that
And that's all included in your memberships, right?
It's all included in the membership.
Awesome. So you have all of these benefits with 10-Bit Makerspace. You've got 24-hour access. What does it actually cost to become a member?
Yeah, so our dues for membership are $75 a month right now. It went up a little while ago and probably won't go up for a long time. But everyone pays the same, and it's sort of the benefit of being a 501c3 nonprofit we have, which not a lot of makerspaces are, and some of them don't last as long as we have. But if you have a bunch of people in your house and you want to let them in, then I think that's 85.
100.
Oh, it's 100 a month. And then there's also a business membership, which is 150. And that's pretty much it right now. So almost everyone is just an individual member, $75 a month, and you can come never, which would be fine by us. You just be a sponsor. We appreciate the donation. Or you could come every day, and it costs the same.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I had never 3D printed anything, and I use 10-bit. I use 10-bit a lot for like 3D printing and playing around with that. I had never 3D printed anything, and then I spent an afternoon with, it was Beans, and then there was another guy in there, and I can't remember the name. Ken, maybe?
Ken.
Yeah. I spent an afternoon with them, and now I'm like understanding how to set the trees supporting and how to actually plan these 3D printing things, right? So that's really cool, and all for that $75 membership is solid. So how do you guys are a nonprofit, which means you've got to think about what funding looks like. You've got to, you have these incentives to bring funding in, this tax incentive, deductibility for donors, things like that. How, aside from memberships, do you guys fund your space, and what does that currently look like for 10-bit?
Well, I think historically what's happened at 10-bit has been members become donors as well, and that has kind of been typical for the space for the most part. We're trying to change that a little bit more now, and to be more proactive in reaching outside of our membership for donations and the like. And so that's, especially now that we had a rent increase this year, and it's looking like it makes more sense for us to move into a newer space. So we're looking at that possibility, which inherently is going to create this situation where we need to fundraise more, where we need more money, not just to make the move, but also moves are just expensive in general. The move we're gonna need things once we get there, and so yeah, that's part of what we're working on as, relatively new members of the board. We've been since July.
Something like that. Yeah. Because it's hard, and we don't necessarily have an answer to that, because our rent pretty much doubled, and we have our member dues come in and go to rent. So most of our equipment was donated by members over the 15 years. So it's pretty much like this, very much a break-even operation right now.
I think that's like speaks a lot to what the space is and the community kind of impact of the space too, though, right? You have these members that pay memberships to be there, right? They're actively involved. They've become donors as well to support the space even beyond their memberships. Like that's pretty amazing just by itself. So you mentioned this need to move, right? What does that currently look like? You're currently located near downtown in San Antonio, right? So where are you kind of looking to move, and what is the stuff you need to kind of cover or fund for that move?
Well, ideally, I think we would find a space that's nearby where we are. I think definitely part of the community that we serve is the arts community, and being in Southtown in the arts community in San Antonio has been I think it's been good for us and good for the community itself. We have a lot of people come in, when Luminaria is going on or coming up to build, big projects like that. For those events, we have a lot of arts members who are in the arts who come in and create their crafts that they go and sell it at shows and weekend markets and stuff like that. So being in the arts area, is something that's important to us. So we hope to find a place that's that's suitable for our needs in the area. That said, we're open to moving, not too far, but somewhere within San Antonio. Our ideal situation would be someplace that has climate control. That's one of the things that makes holding on to members difficult, especially in the summer. Is the fact that the majority of our space is not climate controlled, and you know how hot it gets here. So
definitely, we might not be able to afford a building that has climate control already, but we were looking at just having a normal building that has brick walls or concrete, or there's a lot of industrial space that has like these strong, sturdy walls that just don't necessarily radiate heat. Like our tin, we live in a tin can, right? This warehouse with metal. There's a gap above it. Like it's just basically outside but hotter. And so this is Texas. There are several months during the year where outside but hotter means that nobody wants to be there working on their projects, and so we have people leave because of that, and that stinks.
Okay.
So the number one ask would just be a real building, ideally not shared with like 3 or 4 other businesses, because we had this crazy situation where we pay the electric and the water and for everybody. But also it'd be nice to have the automotive section back. So it'd be nice. A lot of the places we're looking at do have bay doors, and it would be nice to have 3-phase power. There's a couple things that would be nice to have, but yeah, right now the cost is looking like no matter what we do, if we want a similar amount of space, it's going to cost more. So we got to increase membership. And then one thing that we can do that was done apparently many years ago before I was here, before COVID, is to allow renting of some of the space to members who want their own station, especially like the business members and stuff. So then we can sort of like recoup some of the costs. If we get a place that's actually a little bit more square footage than we need, then that's perfect, versus the opposite. So
yeah, because that can generate some additional revenue, help fund things. You might also have space for like a shop, right? People use wood, people use things like that. Maybe you can kind of sell those on site as well. Things like that could be really cool. So total cost, what it's going to take you guys, what you need to raise in order to get into a new spot. What are we looking at?
The move itself is probably in the neighborhood of $17,000 is what we're estimating. We're shooting for around $30,000 and that would give us the move plus a new kind of piece of equipment that we could use to entice new members. Something that would replace or would augment our current laser engraver, which is about 12 years old. So it's not, I mean, even though it is like a industrial machine, something that you can't buy as a consumer model of, it is getting a little long in the tooth. So we want to, augment that with a newer piece of equipment that we can also attract new people with. But at the end of the day, our dream is to raise $45,000, and that would give us a little bit of a cushion after the move and give us some breathing room so we can focus on things like fundraising and like making the space more attractive and inviting to, certain types of members. Right now, I think in order to be a member at 10-Bit, you have to be willing to accept that the place is not, it's kind of a gritty workshop.
It's like a garage.
It's a garage. It's a place where you go and build stuff. And it's, there are other maker spaces like Assembly in Austin that are beautiful and have, tons of really nice new equipment and all that kind of stuff. Of course,
No dirt on the ground.
almost charge double what we do. And,
So $45,000 is your fundraising goal. So how can people contribute to that? Where can they donate?
If you go to our website, there's a button at the top that says donate. And
10bitworks.com/donate.
yeah, 10bitworks.com/donate.
Perfect. And so people can learn kind of more about what the transition fund looks like, what you're trying to do and contribute there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, so changing gears just a little bit, you guys have talked through like several different components of the makerspace, right? You both serve on the board of directors. So what is it like just a day-to-day kind of managing this and keeping everything like running, right?
Chaotic.
Yeah. The board of directors is sort of what it's called for being a 501c3, but at least right now, our board of directors is our staff, basically.
Team board.
Yeah. So hopefully, I'm hoping to get a lot of the willing volunteers involved and to just call that staff and sort of like separate from the board. But historically, it's basically just been the board is the people who are working and running the place. And it's a little bit. It's a little bit chaotic. There's a lot of people to meet. Generally, we have to be around more than anyone, and we have to stop what we're doing to introduce ourselves to new people and to hopefully onboard them or give them a tour or whatever, which is just super important. And I feel like I've gotten pretty good at it, but it's now been long enough that I've started to forget some of the people that had things that, then we have meetings. One of the things I did when I became president is I doubled it. We had meetings every month. Now it's every 2 weeks.
Wow.
And we still go over every time. It's like there's just so much to talk about and so much to do, and it's everyone's got different schedules. So while we do have a lot of asynchronous communication on our Slack, there's just a lot of things like brainstorming and whatnot that it's just more efficient to do in person. So we talk about things like we want to route new power, where we just started various projects to route 220 volt power to some new machines and old machines that can have them to run better. We talk about what to do about rent and looking for new spaces. We've spent the whole last month planning for this anniversary event. So that kind of took over everything for a while. And we had food vendors. We had T-shirts like these made on the spot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this is pretty sick. That was Greg's idea. And there was all sorts of shirt colors and sizes available, but since he was screen printing them on the spot, which was, I've never seen that before. It was like a shirt microwave. I just took one of my shirts and I handed it to him. I'm like, can you put it on this? And he's like, yeah, sure. So, but that event took all of us, and it was planned last minute. It was planned like a month before. And now we're gearing up for the winter. We have a conditional gracious donation from our landlord for $1,000 a month. Once after he raised the rent, that lasts a year, and so whether we move or not, it's going to cost $1,000 more in a couple of months. So we're really trying to figure out that move. No matter where we go, we'll probably be a little bit further away for some people, unfortunately, but it might be closer to others. And there's a lot of good industrial zones. So I totally forget the question on.
Yeah, so we're just talking about kind of the chaos around keeping things organized and moving in a space like this.
Well, I think the other thing that I want to say is, and I think we do a pretty good job at it, but we are 100% volunteer-run organization. There's no one who works for the Makerspace. We don't have a payroll. No one gets any money for anything. Matter of fact, those of us who are the most involved and spend the most time also tend to come out of our pockets the most for different things. That said, I would love it if we were able to onboard more members who were more engaged. And so if you're someone who's listening, if you want to be engaged in a community that is all about building stuff and including the community itself, we are here with open arms to accept you. So that's a really big aspect of who we are, and our most favorite members are the ones who are the most involved.
Yes, if you get involved, we will love you. That's probably the biggest difference from like a library or something. Like, it's not just come in and use tools or read books and leave. Like, preferably you're also answering, you're helping other people. Maybe you're really good at ceramics, or you're really good at woodworking, and other people help that. That's what I get out of it is, that Don is one of the longest term members of our community, was part of the founding group, and he's there every Saturday, Sunday,
Wednesday,
Thursday, every morning, and just like kind of waits for someone to walk in, and then like teaches them how to do their own project, like because he's got a lot of like.
He had a line today.
Yeah, so sometimes he does the line, but sometimes he doesn't, and no one comes in. But he's there like clockwork, very reliable. And I've like I mentioned, I learned a lot about metalworking from the metalworking experts. I've helped a lot of people from the very start with 3D printing, because I came in knowing that, but also excited because I've never had so many 3D printers, and like so much filament, and my 3D printer is like old, so it uses filament that's a lot thicker than what we're using today. Becoming involved in the community is also something that I'm thinking about finding ways to incentivize as well, because it's not quite a net neutral when we have a member that comes in, uses their whatever, they're like, usually it's just the one machine that they came for. Maybe it's a laser or something, and then leaves, and then we never see them. Usually it's fine because, yep, they're paying member dues and whatnot. But sometimes they break something, or sometimes they leave a mess, and then we have no 10-bit police.
And so like when we're talking about how community can involve, how people can get involved, so becoming a member is kind of the first thing, right? That's what you really want to drive for 10-bit is new membership. And for those that want to get involved or have the bandwidth or capacity, whatever it may be, to get involved beyond just being a member and using the tools, what are like the specific things? So like you mentioned, people with skill sets that can maybe teach classes or whatever, right? You mentioned, 10-bit police, right? Helping keep the space running and organized and ensuring that things cleaned up. What are maybe the few biggest needs that you need physically in the space for that?
Tag.
Physically, I think right now, currently, we really need members who are electronics oriented. That's an area that's kind of declined over the last few years.
Just the area like upstairs, directly over the office,
right? And that area is kind of,
it's missing a steward.
Someone adopt that area.
Yeah,
the steward of that area, because it's kind of a little disorganized now, and not as like inviting for members to come in and are like, oh, I would like to figure out how to fix my whatever. But this is intimidating, and I don't know, it looks a mess, and I don't know what to do with it. We don't really have anybody there to assist.
I may have found someone.
But more members in that area. But if I had to be honest, the area that we could use the most help in is advisors for our board. If you're a community member and you know how to, you've been a member of a professional board in the past, especially around fundraising, please come and meet with us and help us grow.
I would probably say that no, we need manual laborers.
That too.
People, at one of our we have these 10 rules, and one of them is basically about leaving it better than you found it, and that gets followed sometimes. But unless everybody follows it, there's always going to be some need for cleanup, and so. Most people again leave when they're done, and that's that. But a lot of what I do, and it's not like a job of a Ford president or anything. Civically, it's cleaning up.
Yeah.
And so we've gotten some cool new organization systems. We had a member who was very big on making efficient ways to have everything on display neatly, and so we made that big partition in the middle. And we also have we have another member who built a giant air filter. So we're trying to get cleaner in all these various ways, and certainly it'd be easier in a newer space. But you don't need to have any particular skills for that, right? You just need to have an eye for, that's out of place, or that could be clean.
So really there's a lot of space to create whatever impact you want in 10-bit, in the makerspace, and in kind of that community. You just gotta show up and be there. And the first step is signing up for a membership, which can happen at 10bitworks.com. Awesome. Cool. So you talked about the move, like before we kind of wrap up, what is like one final important bit of information that people should know about 10-bit?
We love making stuff.
Come and make it.
Yeah, if you want to make it, we'll help you.
And so when are people typically available for, potential members to stop by, learn more about what the space looks like, do tours?
Weekends.
Generally, the weekends are the best. Saturday and Sunday from 9 till, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, usually, sometimes later. But if you can only make it during the week, come one of the days when Dawn is there, and that would be Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday,
Thursday, like 9 to 1-ish. Yeah. And we do have a phone. It will ring a lot of people. So if you don't get anyone, then do leave a message.
Yeah. Reach out to us on our website. We're pretty good about responding to.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Connor and Greg, on Beyond Giving, the best nonprofit show on the Boost Network, sponsored by Nonprofits HQ. It was great getting to know you guys and learning more about 10-Bit. For all our viewers, can get involved with 10-Bit at 10bitworks.com/donate. Help contribute to that donation fund. Help contribute to that fundraising goal. And yeah, awesome. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you. I like your show.